Good day, students. So we are now in week 16. Still, these lessons for grade 7 student life science subject. So for the lesson, we are still on chapter 9, lesson 3. This is all about the male and female reproductive system. For your reference, you must have your textbook on page 346 up to 353. Let's move on to the objective of the lesson. Identify the function of the reproductive system, to enumerate the parts of the male reproductive system, to enumerate the parts of the female reproductive system, and to discuss the function of the male and female reproductive system, and to define the menstrual cycle. What are the functions of the reproductive system? First, the main function is the propagation of the species, to multiply, to reproduce. That is the main function of the reproductive system. To achieve this goal, there must be a sexual maturation. By means of the male and female, they must produce a gametes, which is the sex cells. And for the male, we have what we call the sperm, and the female, we have what we call the egg cells. The male and female structure is homologous, which means it must undergo a common developmental tissue. Okay, so what is sexual reproduction? Definition: there are two parents' offspring that have genetic characteristic from both parents by means of the fertilization. The fertilization is a combining of male sperm cell and the female egg cell to produce a zygote that is the new creation and has half the DNA of each parent. So, you were once a single cell. That sex resulted from a joining of an egg cell and sperm cell, which is what we call the fertilization. An egg cell is what we call the female sex cells, and sperm is for the male sex cells. Both cells, both of them are cells. Fertilization is part of the sexual reproduction. This is the process by which the males and females produce new individuals. Sexual reproduction involves the production of eggs by the female and sperm by the male. The egg and sperm join together during the fertilization. When fertilization occurs, a fertilized egg, or what we call the zygote, is being produced. Then the zygotes contain all the information needed to produce a new being, a new human being. So let's talk about the male reproductive system. On the screen, you can see the parts and the function of the male reproductive system. The male reproductive system is specialized to produce sperm cells and hormone, which is what we call the testosterone. The testis, it produces sperm and testosterone. The testis consists of the cluster of tiny coiled tubes where sperm are formed. In addition to the sperm, the testes produce testosterone. When we say testosterone, it controls the development of an adult male characteristic. This includes the facial hair, the deepening of the voice, the broadening of the shoulder, and ability of the producing sperm. And the testes are located in the pouch of skin called the scrotum. The scrotum, it holds the testes away from the rest of the body. This distance keeps the testes about 2 degrees Celsius to 3 degrees Celsius. Okay? The cooler temperature is important because sperm cannot develop properly at 37 degrees Celsius. So enumerated on the screen, the function of the epididymis, which is matures and storms sperm, and sperm duct that carries sperm from epididymis to the urethra. When we say the seminal vesicles, it is a seminal fluid which feeds the sperm and allow them to swim in the sperm and seminal fluid that are collectively called semen. The urethra, it allows the passage of the urine or the sperm, and the penis is the places sperm inside the body of a female. So what is a sperm? Sperm is a male gamete or sex cells. The production of sperm cells begins during the teenage years. Each sperm cell has a head that contains a chromosomes. It is a long whip-like tail. The chromosomes carry the information that controls inherited characteristics, such as the blood type, the hair color, and everything, all the information from parents. The tail helps the sperms to swim in a fluid. After forming into testes, the sperm travels through a tube in the male reproductive system. As they travel, the sperm mix with the fluid produced by a nearby glands. This mixture this mixture of sperm cells and fluid are called the semen. The fluid in in semen provides environment where sperm can swim. The semen also contain environments that sperm use for energy. Let's move on to the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system. We have what we call the ovary, the fallopian tube, the uterus, and the vagina. The ovary produces the egg to produce the hormones, which is the estrogen and progesterone. Fallopian tube, it catches the egg from the ovary and transport it to the uterus, which is the site of fertilization. The uterus, it is a site of implantation, which holds the developing embryo. It has a lining enriched with blood vessels to nourish the embryo, which is, it forms there the placenta. And the vagina, it allows entry of sperm and exit of baby in birth. Female reproductive system is specialized to produce eggs and nourish a developing baby until birth. It also produces estrogen and other hormones. Ovaries. Ovaries are the female reproductive structures that produce eggs. They are located slightly below the waist, one on each side of the body, one each side of the body. Like the testes in males, the ovaries are also endocrine glands that produce hormones, and they produce estrogen, which is, triggers the development of some adult female characteristic. For example of that is estrogen causes the hips to widen and the breast to develop. Estrogen is also involved in the development of the egg cells. A fallopian tube, it is a passageway. An egg travels from an ovary to the uterus, where the fertilization usually occurs in this particular part. An egg cell. An egg cell is a female gamete or sex cells. From an ovary, an egg travels through the fallopian tube to the uterus. The uterus is hollow muscular organ. If an egg has been fertilized in the fallopian tube, it attaches to the wall of the uterus. Unfertilized egg breaks down in the uterus. It lives through the cervix, the opening of the base of the uterus. The egg then enters the vagina, and the vagina is a muscular passage leading to the outside of the body. The vagina or birth canal is the passageway through which a baby leaves its mother's body during the childbirth. And what is menstrual cycle? Menstrual cycle is a monthly series of changes a woman's body goes through in the preparation of possibility of a pregnancy. During the menstrual cycle, an egg develops in an ovary. At the same time, the lining of the uterus thickens in a way that prepares the uterus for the fertilized egg. Here's the menstrual cycle. The first stage, extra tissue and blood from the thickened lining of the uterus leave the body through the vagina during the menstruation. This stage lasts for about 4 days. On the second stage, an egg enters the final step of maturing. This stage lasts about 9 days. And the third, About 1 day later, ovulation occurs when during the ovulation, the egg is released from the ovary into the fallopian tube. On the fourth stage, as the egg moves through the fallopian tube, it can be fertilized by sperm. The lining of the uterus thickens, and this stage lasts about for 7 days. And for the fifth stage, if the egg is fertilized, it is attaches to the wall of the uterus. If the egg is not fertilized, it breaks down. And that is last for days 22 to 28. So that's all for this week. Don't forget to answer your evaluation psychology and Pearson online activities. God bless you all and thank you.